Sprite Castle. Sprite Castle. Sprite Castle.
Mr. Rob O'Hara.
Sprite Castle.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Sprite Castle Plays. On this week's episode, we are going to be playing, I would call this game a cult classic. This is a 1984 game from Datasoft called Man Copter. So, and by the way, before I even load this, I want to show you something. Notice the games that are on this: Cell Defense, Man Copter, Flip Flop, Load Runner, Dig Dug, and Zone Ranger. This is an actual disc or a disc image from my own personal Commodore 64 collection. So when I was a kid, even before I got my Commodore 64, I started buying blank floppies, and I went over to Jeff's house and I copied his games, and then I went over to Andy's house and I gave him copies of Jeff's games, and I copied his games and took them back over, and so I traded between the two. But by the time I was done, I had probably 20 discs of software before I had my Commodore 64, and I realized that it was going to be impossible to find games when I started getting more and more floppy disks, and so I came up with a numbering system. I started numbering all my discs, and so those first 20 discs may not be exactly in chronological order, but they were my first 20 discs. And so if you take a look here, this is floppy disk number 2 from my personal collection. This disc was, this is my handwriting from probably 1985, I would guess. Possibly 1986, but I think 1985. But if you look on the B side, especially there, you will see those same games. That is Cell Defense, Man Copter. You can see Load Runner, Zone Ranger, Dig Dug, and Flip Flop. So this is the disc that this disc image that I'm playing right here was made from. So I had Man Copter. And every time I say Man Copter, I want to go Man Copter, Man Copter, Man Copter, like like a monster truck rally, you know. So I definitely had Man Copter, Man Copter, Man Copter when I was a kid. I think once you understand more about the game, it makes a little bit more sense. And so I'm going to explain a little bit to you, but I obviously have to save a little bit for the actual podcast too. So you are that fellow there in the lead in this little demo that's running right here. In fact, if I switch over to the other view here, you can see the artwork. That's you and your Man Copter, Man Copter, Man Copter. And you can see all the aspects of the game. There's a pelican up there. There are some thunderstorms. There are other Man Copters chasing you. There's a squid and a mermaid and a shark and a whale, and those things are all important in this game. One thing I should explain about this game is that you don't have lives exactly, you have fish. And so anytime that you crash, you will be rescued by a whale as long as you have a fish, and you will give him a fish, and the whale will help you relaunch back up into the race. So if you're out of fish, the whale will not help you, and a giant shark will eat you, and that will be the end of your racing days. There are ways to get more fish. Sometimes pelicans have fish, and if you touch one of those, you'll get a fish. But if a pelican doesn't have a fish, he will take one of your fish. There are the squids that come out of the water will take your fish. There's a pelican right there in the little demo that just went by. But the mechanics of this game, the game runs like Joust. And so very quick. I probably should have picked a quieter joystick because I've got my Epix 500 joystick here. And you're going to hear just how loud Man Copter is when I start playing here. So I'm kind of tangled up. Let's get this there and there. And let's get started with a little bit of Man Copter. So this is, I'll tell you one unique thing about Man Copter is that it's a racing game where you race from right to left. And I can't think of any other games where you go right to left. It's almost always left to right, probably from a, just feels natural. We read from left to right, and we look from left to right. And so it's very odd feeling to be racing in the opposite direction. But that is how things work in the world of Mancopter, Mancopter, Mancopter. So as you can hear, I'm having to do this throughout the entire race. Up at the top, you can see how many other racers I've passed. And then if I wanted to, boom, knock these guys out, I could. Now, you only get 10 points. Now, there's a buoy. A buoy gives me bonus time for passing the buoy. I'm playing on the easy level, so a lot of times, at least at the beginning of this race, you'll see these guys pretty much hold their line, and you can kind of sneak above them or below them. And shortly here, you'll see them. I'll start encountering other racers that are trying to literally just knock me out of the sky. Because that's the way things happen in the world of Mancopter, Mancopter, Mancopter. So this is kind of Mancopter. You're going to see, again, this is the, there's a buoy, so you go past that. Now see that pelican there? He does not have a fish. And so if I had touched him, he would take one of my fish. But if he did have a fish in his mouth, you have to be really quick. If he did have a fish. Now see this guy behind me? Like he's trying to come knock my Mancopter out of the air. Oh, now this is a... if you run into trees like this, you have to fly underneath. It's kind of hard right there. And this is almost like it's almost like Flappy Bird, like where you're trying to maneuver, in between that. So I don't want to go too fast. I'll tell you one cool little touch is that when I look backwards, notice that he looks over his shoulder like the people behind him. It's a strange little touch to add. Now see that guy? He just flew up right into my path. That was I call these guys kamikaze racers. That guy almost got me, actually. All's fair in love and Mancopter. There's another guy. Like, why would he do that? He's just trying to get me. There's a pelican. I couldn't really see if he had a fish or not. Oh, there's a guy that's going to try and take me out. Now, some of these guys, like this guy, I'm going to try to, if I could get enough speed to go under him, yes. I'd rather... I don't really know if you're rewarded for... Maybe you get a bonus at the end of how many people that you pass. But really, the goal is to finish... Oh, no, it got me. So, since I have 4 fish, you'll see the whale down there come, and he helps me out. And I give him a fish, and he lets me launch right off his face. Which seems like a fair trade, I guess. Oh, now that pelican, if you notice, he just touched me, and he stole one of my fish. But you see how fast that happened. You have to really be watching the front scan line there. And, I mean, if you're trying to go fast to win the race, the pelicans come really fast. There's another guy that's trying to get me. So on the easy level, the spot of the race I'm at right now, you won't see very many mermaids or... there's another pelican. Stole my fish. Later on, you'll see squids jumping out of the water, and squids will take 2 fish. Maybe the squid just takes 1, but then there's these little... I stole another fish, so I've lost basically all my men from pelicans. Oh, and now that... So I touched that pelican. So now a whale will not come, and instead Jaws will come and eat me, and that is the end of my Mancopter. Let's give this one more go here. I probably should have done a harder. That's a cool little animation too with those little waving flags. That's interesting. There's a lot of early stuff in the Commodore games where they would, just do little animation things because they could, I suppose. There's a slight parallax effect, I guess, from those clouds, which is kind of interesting. Just the bigger ones moving by more quickly, but since they're all the same color, it's not a great parallax effect, I suppose. This game, like I said, when I called it a cult classic, I don't know that a lot of people remember this game from 1984, but the people that do love it. I mean, this game gets great reviews. it shows up on people's favorite lists. I was really surprised how many links and articles and reviews I was able to find in regards to Man Copter. Yeah, it's a fun little game. It's kind of addictive. I mean, it's pretty simple, you know. You can see there's not a lot, especially on this easy level. There's not too much terrain and stuff. On the harder level, I mean, you got these. You'll have clouds that have thunder and lightning that will. The lightning will take you out. There's another buoy, so I get some more time. You can only build your time up to 99, by the way. I'm gonna have to go under this guy if I can. Go over this guy. I'd rather get the credit for passing him, but alright, come to the tree. See if I can stay out of the water. Look at that. Man Copter go. I talk about this a little bit on the episode of Sprite Castle, this week's episode, where I talk about Man Copter. But if I could change one thing about this game, I would change the name. To be honest with you, I don't think that they had this in mind specifically, but as we in 1984, Man Copter was was a fair name, but we've moved to more gender neutral terms, and I certainly don't think that the exciting sport of Man Copter is, or a fish thievery, like that guy stole my fish. I mean, it could be a people copter or a person copter or personal copter. I mean, there's a lot of different terms it could be. It could be, pedal copter or something. I don't know. So, it seems like probably in 1984, nobody thought twice about it, but there's something about 2020 that it kind of jumps out at me. But it doesn't take away from the game itself. The game is fun, as you can see, and here I am about to have an encounter with this dude. He's trying to joust me. Made it under him. But you can see it's really hard. Those pelicans, man, they start coming fast. So now you're in a dilemma. Like, this guy's behind me. I've got to go faster to get ahead of him. But I'm going so fast that if I see a pelican, I'm not going to have time to react like that. And with that, my Man Copter days are over. So this is a fun little game. I hope you listened to this week's episode of Sprite Castle. Thanks to my Man Copter pit crew. You can see those guys listed down there at the bottom for helping me keep my Man Copter afloat. In reality, those are my Patreon supporters, so thank you guys for supporting the show. Check out this week's podcast, and I hope you enjoy listening, and I hope you give old Man Copter a little spin.